Well, AppleWorks was originally written by Bob Listener, who was working for Apple at the time. He wrote a project called 3 Easy Pieces for the Apple III, and he had written a database. He decided to take the database and expand it by adding a spreadsheet and a word processor. So what began as a simple database project evolved into one of the first integrated packages on any computer, and as you know, it was incredibly successful. At one point, outselling Lotus 123 somewhere in the range of 40,000 copies per month, making Listener incredibly wealthy, and Apple too. Also, about the time he was working on that, he made some deals with some other people to create Microsoft Works on the Macintosh, and that was derived from AppleWorks. So the line of integrated software on the Mac owes its roots back to AppleWorks. AppleWorks 2.0 was written in order to add compatibility with the 2GS and add some new features such as mail merge. In 1987 or thereabouts, Claris made a deal with Beagle Brothers to write AppleWorks 3.0. Rob Renstrom, who had written Timeout Graph, Alan Bird, who had created the spelling checker and Thesaurus, and myself, Timeout Ultra Macros, PowerPack, some of those products, were hired by Mark Simonson at Beagle to create AppleWorks 3.0. This project lasted for about half a year or so and was shipped in 1988. In the last half-decade, nothing really has been done about AppleWorks until Joe Gleason came along and decided it was time to provide what the users really needed to take AppleWorks into the 1990s rather than leave it as a relic of the 80s. The most successful product in Apple history is now being released in a new, exciting version, which adds many new features, a great deal of power, and yet retains the simplicity of the original, keeping the ambiance the same. The first product that I actually created and sold was called Grade Aid, a grading package for teachers, which I designed for my fiancée, Joanna Morrison, who later lent her initials to Gem Software. And she was doing her student teaching and toiling over her grades, and I thought the Apple was a perfect way to accelerate that. And eventually a product developed, which several teachers used for years afterward. My first job was also in a school with an Apple II computer, although their lab was primarily TRS-80s. I spent time on the Apple II and developed some other products. Eventually left teaching in order to get into computers full time, and worked at a company for a while where I met Dan Vercade, the co-author of AppleWorks 4.0.
While programming accounting software, I was approached by Randy Brandt to do some programming on the Apple II for the Timeout series. It was to be released by Beagle Brothers. Since that time, I've done several other Timeout applications, as well as applications for Gem Software.
Eventually, we were contracted with Claris to create AppleWorks 3.0. This product was completed in 1988, and Claris never again updated the product. Although we created new additions such as Double Data and Total Control through Gem Software, and Beagle Brothers released some new products, and when Quality took it over, they released Timeout Grammar, there were enhancements being made. However, I felt much more could be done. At that point, I discussed with Joe Gleason the possibility of creating an AppleWorks 4.0.
The whole project actually began with a phone call actually from Randy Brandt back in March of 1993. He called up with the idea of an upgrade for AppleWorks, which at the time he called the mother of all patches for AppleWorks. And unless we got permission from Claris to release it as the official upgrade, it was going to have to be released as an independent patch disk for AppleWorks. Throughout 1993, Randy and Dan Vercade continued to work on the project, and approximately in June, we started talking with Claris seriously about allowing Quality Computers to take over the publishing rights for AppleWorks and to continue to support it, give it the support that we thought we could give it, and the excitement, and build the enthusiasm. In August of this year, Quality Computers signed a contract with Claris that will allow us to release the Works as AppleWorks 4.0. In the beginning, we had names for it such as Quadriga. That was the code name that all the beta testers signed off on. The first announcement we made about the project publicly was in Tool Live. We called it The Works. And we're really happy to release it as the official AppleWorks upgrade, AppleWorks 4.0.
I guess the best thing about integrated software is just the ability to be in one application like a database, be able to cut, say, a name and an address out and stick it right inside of a word processor document.
You know, it would be
No
even
need
better
to go,
than that.
Boot up another program.
What would be even better than that if someone created a glossary feature in the word processor that could automatically access that database information without even having to switch?
So you wouldn't have to even use a clipboard?
Exactly. You could just press a keystroke and call up a little menu and import the information directly in.
Yeah, that would take integration one step further.
I think it would. What about in the spreadsheet? You've had a lot of experience in the spreadsheet. How does integration affect that?
Well, the same way that we can move from spreadsheet to database to word processor with relative ease, but again, we could take that one step further and be able to use one spreadsheet to look inside another spreadsheet.
So integrating multiple spreadsheets together, not necessarily multiple applications.
That's correct. And even from those multiple spreadsheets, being able to integrate that information into another application.
So what you're saying is you could type in one thing and have it automatically import from other files that are on the desktop without actually having to switch to them?
Absolutely.